policymakers use data and analytics to forecast key economic indices such as GDP, inflation, and others. The use of data, however, involves technology that helps and also puts together information that's reliable and could be tested for integrity. Now, of course, using the Jackson Hole Symposium speech of Jerome Powell of the Federal Reserve last Friday, we bring on our guest, Stephen Oniya, who is the CEO at Soft City Group. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Oniya. It is always a pleasure to have you. Good to see you again. So, as far as Mr. Powell is concerned, looking at what we saw with Jackson Hole, evidence, data to adjust key economic dynamics of the global economy. What's the takeaway for you from what we saw, what we've seen?
Okay, thank you. There are primarily three takeaways. Primarily. The Fed chair, that's Jerome Powell, has an objective to push down inflation to 2%. It's a deliberate objective. The message did not change. That's what he communicated last year, and that's what he's communicating this year. Also, he has a dual mandate, and it's very clear in his objectives. My dual mandate is towards my objective. We're going to keep restrictive policies and to make sure this inflation rate goes down regardless of the consequences. Now, for myself, aside the meta information, that's the metadata which the Fed chair shared, I feel the Fed chair is now basically concerned about the U.S. economy and not primarily the spillover effects on trading partners like Nigeria. Basically.
Okay. Yeah. So as far as signaling, what information do you get from Powell's speech? Okay.
You see, let me reference something because the importance for me, I'm not in the U.S. and I'm more concerned about how such speeches impact us here locally. There was a research conducted by the Central Bank of Nigeria which studied the conventional and unconventional monetary policies of the U.S. and its spillover effect on the Nigeria economy. And it was clearly declared, it was clearly concluded that every major shock experienced by the U.S. economy has a spillover effect on Nigeria's economy. And you can see the past administration have tried and make several attempts to build self-sufficiency through backward integration with the U.S., through building local content laws so that we can be sustainable. Because these shocks, for example, from the Russia-Ukraine war, affecting the U.S., data signals are clearly saying it will affect us negatively, whether we like it or not.
What do you make of the, as far as one of the data points, core PCE? So I guess stripping out more volatile food, energy items is. What do you make of their focus on that particular?
All right, I'm happy because if you notice, the Fed chair specifically took out the PCE data points that are basically influenced by global factors. He specifically said they gave misleading signals, and he focused, and that's food and energy. Then he kept his focus on the remaining core PCE factor, which is goods, which is housing and non-housing services. Now, it's in data science, it's normal to do dimensionality reduction when you have some data that has a meaningless or unpredictable impact on other data. So normal to do normalization of data. But the problem we have here, if he is removing those two factors, which is food and energy, and now he is not really interested about the trading partners with the U.S. who are assigned to the bilateral trade and investment, that's TIFA, and this framework agreement with the U.S. We are all signed to, and this spillover effect, if he removes it and is no longer interested primarily because they are given misleading signals, where do we stand in Africa? Where is the data that we can use to correlate our activities here? Please pardon me. The IMF gave a report that the growth rate of Nigeria would be 2% in 2022 and 2023. And the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics gave a more robust growth rate estimation. It's going to be 4.2% in 2022. Now, you could easily think 3% and 4.2% are not to see. You see, in data analysis, it's huge difference. Now, the problem we have is we all saw what happened in 2022. We saw the growth rate. We can easily predict who forecasted based on the more accurate or most accurate value of data. It can speak for itself.
Indeed, indeed. So, if you were to speak of the learning curve from what Powell's doing with the emphasis on data there, and you bring that home here. We've talked about GDP data that just came out, revision of the unemployment figures, and so on and so forth. Should we be as data dependent? Is data supposed to just basically drive policy in an unbiased fashion?
100% yes.
Yeah.
100% yes. There is no way on this age and time that you are going to live and decide without concrete data evidence. Data could give you descriptive analytics describing events. It could give you predictive analytics predicting the future, and give you prescriptive analytics helping you decide and make decisions that can fix those things that have been predicted. If we don't go with data right now, we are going nowhere.
Yeah. The new leadership at the Ministry of the ICT Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, what's your outlook on? They just got a $500 million loan for startups in the ecosystem or so on. So, what's your take on that sector and how things turn out there?
Well, the truth is, a lot of us have vouched for his qualification.
Yeah.
We've confirmed that he is qualified. Dr. Bosun Tijani is qualified. But pardon me to reference a statement that I came across about him saying the Nigerian technology sector would be globally competitive under my watch. Please take note of the word my. Now, you see, for those of us in this industry, we've seen people before Dr. Bosun Tijani. We had Professor Issa Pantami before him. And we like him to understand we don't need a messiah for this industry. The word my, I, me, he needs to let it go. He is not the ministry, and the ministry is not him. We don't need to be under the watch of a man. We want to be under the watch of a system. The ministry is the watch, and he is a representative channeling the policies of that ministry. He needs to know that this industry, it's not one man's affair, because if it's about technology medals, people before him, several of them before him, boasted about the me, the I, the we, and eventually they got nowhere. So he should just keep his focus, but we still believe in his capacity regardless.
We stay hopeful and we stay optimistic. Stephen Oniya, CEO of Soft City Group, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.